What is up, guys? I hope you're all doing well today, and welcome back to another Awaken video. So today we're going to be doing a little character guide on someone I haven't really seen talked about all that much, at least not that I've seen, and that is Scarlett. I got her very early on and used her in some of the dungeons very early in my first account here during the beta, and I thought she was really interesting and pretty cool, and she got overshadowed by a lot of other damage dealers, AoEers, and all that kind of stuff. Just because I really was trying to clear like campaign missions and other dungeons, and I needed wave clear, and I just kind of stopped working on her for a while. Well, recently I came back through and upgraded her fairly. She's definitely not maxed, but she's pretty well built right now, and I've been pleasantly surprised. So let's quickly go over her kit here. So her passive is Pack Leader. Scarlett is accompanied by her wolf at the start of battle. The wolf deals 30% damage to the target with a 50% chance to apply bleeding for 2 turns. So basically, the wolf hangs out with her, and then based on this other passive here, which I don't know why it's not all in one, but anyway, any attack against an enemy affected by bleeding triggers a bonus wolf attack, transfers lethal damage against this character to any wolves present. So the way this works is she'll be in battle, she'll have a little wolf, and then once the target has a bleed on it, any attack done will then trigger the wolf to also attack that target and have, per here, a chance at applying another bleed. So you end up stacking a lot of bleeds and doing a lot of damage. And just an important note, bleeding damage does scale based on the caster's attack stat. So it's not like a poison or anything where it does percentage based. It just does more damage the more attack you have. So even if you're building a status effect character using bleeds, you still need to build a lot of attack just so that you can get really heavy damage out of it. And then the second part to this is when there's a wolf present, when she would be killed by an attack, the wolf instead is killed and she remains alive and takes no damage, which there's another feature with that in the ult here. We'll get there in a second. And then her standard attack deals 60% damage to an enemy with a 100% chance to apply bleed. So once you've got her abilities all filled out, you attack, you deal bleed. Pretty straightforward. And then her ult deals 150% total damage to an enemy in a 3-pronged attack, each strike of which has either a 150 or 30% chance to apply bleeding for 2 turns, summons 1 wolf if no wolves are present. So the way this can kind of work out is, let's say armored incursion, because that's one of the big highlights for her, for me at least, is you're fighting, he tries to kill her, takes out the wolf, because when she would die, the wolf takes the hit instead, and then you move to the next turn, and if you hadn't wasted your ult, you can repop the ult, so she gets basically another stack, or another free life, so to speak, because the wolf would be killed instead of her. So it's kind of an extra life mechanic. It does okay damage too, being reasonable scaling, and though it has a bit of RNG to it, you can land a decent amount of bleeds on the target at once using this. So overall, it's not a very complicated kit. She kind of just sticks to the field really well because of having the extra lives, the protections there. She can deal a decent amount of damage through bleeds and status effect. She does okay damage. I definitely don't know if building her for straight damage is the way to go. I'm kind of leaning into damage dealing right now just to try and see what kind of different things work for her, but she does have a very low damage multiplier on her auto attack, and her ult is decent. It's nothing crazy, but 150% is pretty good. But mostly you're going to be working with the bleeds. That's where a lot of your damage from her is going to come in. So you're trying to stick her on the field, keep her there as long as possible, and just rack up damage through the bleeds. Which, when I was first using her on the green armored incursion, which is what we'll be showing today, right in here, the bleeds didn't proc for all that much damage. It was, I can't remember, anywhere from like 300 to 700, somewhere in that range. And it felt a little overwhelming, and I was really thinking this might not even be a video because maybe she's just not good at all. But then I saw the total damage at the end, and that was without having anything maxed whatsoever on her, and I gotta say, those bleed stacks really rack up some damage across a big fight. As you can see here in the green armored incursion in my clan, I'm the 3rd with just shy of 400,000 damage, and that was done in large part due to having Scarlett. So my top damage dealer pretty obviously is Hector. Aurak does a pretty good job and keeps defense down on the target most of the time. And then Scarlett was actually very close second to Hector. I want to say she was only like 20,000 damage shy of what he did. It was very close, actually. I was very surprised. So we'll go ahead and do a quick run through here. I'll do a little fast forward and not talk during it, and then we'll show you the total damage at the end, just so you can get an idea of what she's doing while unmaxed. Alright, so as you can see, it's not quite the run I had before previously as my record, sitting at 36.3 instead of 39 something, whatever it was, so this one wasn't quite as strong. But she's sitting at about 85,000 damage on a mediocre run, and we'll go show you all the gear and stats and whatnot, but this is really not bad. That's pretty solid damage. Aurak is built fairly well, and he is a really good damage dealer. And as you can see, he has 4 ascensions. He has, the extra trait on his passive. He's a pretty solid champion, and I use him a lot right now. And she almost did as much damage as him. I'm pretty impressed with these numbers. And because, like I said, this is low crit rate, not a lot of damage. I still need more attack, and we'll go over all that. But really not bad damage for being completely unmaxed. So now into the stats and gear. So we'll start in the stats and then I'll show you the gear we've got. So as you can see, I've got 3,300 attack, which is okay. It's really not all that much, honestly, especially with someone who's relying on the attack stat to do the majority of her damage. This should probably be closer to like 4,000 or 4,500. Health is at 9,000, just shy of a K defense. Speed doesn't really matter, and then as you can see here, barely 50% crit rate, only 162 crit damage, so I really don't have anything in the crit rate, crit damage department going on, so almost all of her damage is coming from those bleed stacks in the attack. So it's pretty good damage, honestly. She could be doing some really nutty damage if I was able to get her a little bit tankier so she stuck around longer and got a little more attack. Like I said, closing in on the 4,000 to 4,500, I think it could be doing really well. The one other thing that is very important for her, should you try to build her for you doing the armored incursion, is you want to make sure you have some focus. It's usually not too important, and I probably have much more than I need here, but I really wanted to make sure that I land all of those bleeds because they are a resistible effect. So if you get their bleeds resisted, you're not doing damage. So this is one character where you do want to make sure you have at least some focus. I don't know anything about percentages and what you need. I know that anything over like 30-40%, I've never seen it be resisted, at least in armored incursion. I don't know if it goes up across the fight or anything, but at least for me here, I think I have too much. But you definitely want to be making sure you have some in order to land all of those. And then I do have her abilities maxed, and then other than a little speed and resistance, her glyphs are maxed. And then here's the gear. So I am using the cursed set, so I do have the chance at extra attacks, which works well on her because of the extra chances to add bleed. But everything I have here is only at plus 12. And I've got okay stats. I was mostly looking for attack, health, and focus. So a little bit all across the board here. A little crit rate, focus. Let's see, focus, a little attack. Those are basically useless. The boots are okay. Some defense, a little crit rate. Attack ring, crit damage, decent focus, which is what I was looking at here. Little crit rate. Attack, agility, more focus, a little speed. So as you can see, it's really not nutty gear. I was lucky enough to have a little bit of this be 6-star, and all the rest of it is 5-star, which is really nice. So I do get the pretty solid base stats. But this really isn't absolutely nutty gear. This isn't god rolls. This is nothing insane. This is just decent gear with okay substats, and I happen to be able to get together the set, because this was the important part, was getting the cursed set for those extra attacks in, because I believe it's also more chances for the wolf to proc and attack also. So I think this is probably the best set to go with her. Attack set obviously makes sense because you're just trying to build into attack. So as I mentioned, for me, I'm leaning into trying to build her more as a damage dealer, even though her base damage from the skills isn't all that high, just because I kind of want to see what the max damage she can get is. I could also see building her in like a revive set or health set, or just trying to make her tankier. I could see that working fairly well. You would still have to worry about getting some attack just so the bleeds do damage, but you could go with the trying to make her really tanky, because then she just sticks around for a long time and can land far more bleeds. So I'm not sure which will work better. Once I get the full attack gear leveled up and built and, get her where I want her there, I might switch the set out for something more tanky just to kind of see what the difference in damage dealt is, to see if it really pays off. But I could see building her tanky working out, but I'm not sure if it would be better than focusing on attack, which once I get the chance to progress fully and test all that will definitely be another video. But I think she's a really good armored incursion fighter. The other place I could see her being fairly helpful, obviously the Bane Wraith, she'd be really good because she gets all the extra attacks, so she can help you take down those extra shields pretty easily and make that go a lot faster, because for me, none of these are particularly hard. But this one's a pain because it takes so long because of all those stupid resist stacks and whatever you want to call them. So she'd be good there. She'd also be pretty good in Roaring Tulpa. The only problem I see with her in Roaring Tulpa, even though she's affinity strong and can do some decent damage over time, is that she wouldn't do a whole lot for you as far as taking the shield down when he hits the half health point, just because she doesn't do burst damage. She does damage over the whole fight. So I think she'd be really helpful in chipping away at his massive health pool, but you definitely wouldn't be able to rely on her to take down that shield. So she could fit in some Roaring Tulpa comps. I've used her there a little bit because I have some red damage dealers that can do the shield pop, and she's been helpful, and I want to say might have sped it up by a little bit, but I definitely think she could be helpful in clearing this, especially, like I said, if you can get someone to actually clear the shield off when you hit that half health point. But I think she's a really good champion, guys. Like I said, I haven't seen her really talked about much, but I like the way her kit is. I like that it's a little unique. I like the extra life through having the wolf up and, you know, deciding when to use the ult, whether you want to save it for the extra life or try to get the extra damage. I don't know, I kind of like her, and she works well on auto as well. I've noticed a lot of champions tend to do some really stupid things on auto, but just because of the way she has almost nothing in her kit. It's very simple, and other than maybe trying to save the ult for the extra revive, there's not a lot of complexity to using her. So on auto, the AI doesn't tend to mess up anything really bad, so she can be really helpful in that regard in Armored Incursion, because you don't have to set up combos or anything like that, which can lose you some damage, especially in the Armored Incursion. But that is about it, guys. I just wanted to talk about Scarlett a little bit, do a little showcase, and show you the newest Armored Incursion damage dealer I've been working on. We might do a little update or update the damage in the comments once I get all this maxed out, just to see what she can really do at the end game. But I feel like she could be a really useful Armored Incursion fighter for someone coming up through the levels in the early to mid game, and possibly even late game, because like I said, she's almost tying with Awakens, who does a decent job, so I think she's a pretty useful champion. But that wraps it up, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this champion showcase. I hope you're having fun at the game, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Until next time, bye.